Gold Digger laughed at the broke fisherman, only to discover his secret empire. The morning sun glittered across the water at Sapphire Bay Marina, where polished yachts worth millions bobbed gently against the backdrop of azure skies. This wasn't just any marina, it was the crown jewel of Harbor Heights, the coastal playground for tech moguls, celebrities, and old money families who treated $100,000 weekends as casual getaways. Vanessa Collins stepped out of her white Range Rover, designer sunglasses perched perfectly on her nose, her caramel-highlighted hair cascading over her shoulders. At 32, she had mastered the art of looking expensive, even when her bank account told a different story. Today's outfit, a Gucci blouse paired with white capris and gold accessories, had cost her nearly a month's rent. But investment in appearance was necessary for someone on a mission to secure a wealthy husband before her 35th birthday. "Sierra, hurry up," Vanessa called to her friend, who was busy adjusting her makeup in the passenger seat. "The Chandler yacht party starts in an hour, and we need to scope out the scene first." Sierra, a mid-tier fashion influencer, with enough followers to score free products but not enough for major brand deals, rolled her eyes. "You know they won't leave without us. Besides, fashionably late is always better. Not when the whole point is to mingle before everyone's too drunk to remember your name," Vanessa replied, scrolling through her phone to confirm they were on the guest list, or rather the +1 extension of a guest list, courtesy of Sierra's cousin, who worked for one of the Chandler investors. As they strolled along the pristine boardwalk, Vanessa was mentally cataloging potential targets for the day. A tech founder with a recent IPO would be ideal. Or perhaps a foreign investor looking for an American trophy wife. She'd done her research, memorizing names, faces, and net worths of expected attendees. That's when the smell hit her, the pungent aroma of grilled fish and salt water that seemed oddly out of place amidst the polished luxury of Sapphire Bay. Vanessa wrinkled her nose, turning toward the source of the disruption to her sensory paradise. There, at the far end of the dock, a man in his late 30s was hunched over a weathered fishing boat that looked like it had seen better decades. His faded blue t-shirt was stained with what appeared to be fish guts and oil, his cargo shorts frayed at the edges, a 3-day stubble covered his tanned face, and his hands, rough and calloused, worked methodically as he repaired a fishing net. "Ugh, why do they let these local fishermen use the same marina as the actual members?" Vanessa muttered. Loud enough for Sierra to hear, but supposedly quiet enough to maintain plausible deniability. The man looked up, his eyes surprisingly sharp and clear, a startling blue that contrasted with his sun-weathered skin. He caught Vanessa's gaze, and to her surprise he smiled. "Morning, ladies," he called out, his voice carrying a confident warmth that seemed at odds with his shabby appearance. "Beautiful day for being on the water." Sierra nudged Vanessa. "Be nice," she whispered. "The locals know all the best spots." Vanessa plastered on her practiced socialite smile, the one she reserved for service workers and other people she deemed inconsequential. "Indeed it is. Enjoy your fishing," the man chuckled, seemingly unaffected by her thinly veiled condescension. He gestured to a small portable grill set up on the dock beside his boat. "Just caught some yellowtail this morning. They're grilling up nice. Care for a bite? Nothing fresher than straight from the ocean." On the grill, several fish fillets sizzled, their aroma admittedly more enticing up close. For a fleeting second, Vanessa's stomach growled. She'd skipped breakfast to fit perfectly into her capris. "Oh no thank you," she said with an exaggerated grimace. "We're actually heading to the Chandler yacht for their seafood buffet. I'm sure it's—" She paused, looking pointedly at his humble setup, "more our style." Sierra elbowed her again, harder this time. But Vanessa continued. "Besides, I don't think my dietitian would approve of dock food." "No offense. None taken," the man replied, his expression unchanged save for a slight twinkle in his eye. "Enjoy your buffet." As they walked away, Sierra hissed. "That was unnecessary, V. He was just being nice." "Please," Vanessa scoffed, loud enough for her voice to carry back to where the man was working. "I'm not here to make friends with broke fishermen. Did you see his boat? It probably cost less than my purse." She laughed melodically, ensuring that nearby dock workers and early arriving yacht guests could hear her wit. A few turned to look, some with amusement, others with barely concealed disapproval. "He probably makes like what, 40 grand a year?" "On a good year?" Vanessa continued, warming to her audience. Sierra, we need to focus. Remember our goal: find guys with 7-figure incomes minimum. Not guys who smell like their day job. The fisherman, still within earshot, simply returned to his work, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth as he flipped the fish on his grill and pulled out his phone to send a quick text. You never know, Sierra said, her voice lower now. My cousin said some of these old fishing families actually own half the waterfront property around here. Right? Vanessa snorted. And I'm secretly a Kennedy. Come on, the yacht's this way. What Vanessa didn't notice as she strutted away was the knowing glances exchanged between the dock workers. Nor did she see the subtle nod of acknowledgement a passing yacht captain gave to the shabby fisherman. And she certainly didn't notice how the supposedly broke man's weathered boat had state-of-the-art navigation equipment, partially hidden under canvas covers, or the fact that his cheap watch was actually a limited edition dive timepiece worth more than her car. The fisherman, Jake Mercer, watched her go, her dismissive laughter still floating in the air. Then he looked down at his phone, at the message he'd just received confirming his attendance was expected at today's board meeting, right after the ribbon-cutting ceremony tomorrow. Interesting, he murmured to himself, turning back to his grill. Very interesting indeed. The Chandler yacht, a 120-foot masterpiece of marine engineering, named Midas Touch, glittered like a floating palace against the afternoon sky. Its 3 decks were already alive with the champagne-fueled chatter of Silicon Valley executives, hedge fund managers, and the occasional celebrity who had flown in for the weekend networking event, disguised as a party. Vanessa and Sierra presented their invitations to a stone-faced security guard who scrutinized their names longer than seemed necessary. Vanessa felt a flutter of nervousness, but maintained her practiced smile. Sierra Chen and Vanessa Collins, the guard finally confirmed, stepping aside. Welcome aboard the Midas Touch. The moment they stepped onto the polished teak deck, Vanessa's predatory instincts activated. She scanned the crowd, mentally filtering out women, older men, and anyone whose watch or shoes suggested they fell below her financial threshold. Her gaze landed on a tall man with salt and pepper hair, wearing a casual linen suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly mortgage. That's Liam Chandler, Sierra whispered, following Vanessa's line of sight. The host. Divorced last year. Worth at least 8 figures. Vanessa smoothed her blouse and fluffed her hair. Perfect, I'm going in. Wish me luck. Just don't be obvious, Sierra warned. Vanessa navigated through the crowd with practiced ease, pausing to accept a glass of champagne from a passing server. She positioned herself near the yacht's bar, angling for a coincidental encounter with Liam. When he approached for a drink refill, she made her move. The rosé is divine, she commented, tilting her glass toward him. Perfect choice for an afternoon like this. Liam Chandler turned, offering a polite but reserved smile. Thank you. Imported from a small vineyard in Provence. You're enjoying the party? Absolutely, Vanessa purred. The Midas Touch is magnificent. Have you owned her long? A curious expression flickered across Liam's face. I don't own the yacht actually. I'm just hosting today's event. Vanessa faltered for only a millisecond. Oh, my mistake. Well, whoever chose you as host made an excellent decision. Liam nodded, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. If you'll excuse me, I should greet some other guests. Before Vanessa could respond, he had slipped away, leaving her confused. Had she said something wrong? She'd been sure her research indicated Liam owned this yacht. Something felt off. Over the next hour, Vanessa approached 3 different men she'd identified as prime targets. Each interaction started promising but ended abruptly, with excuses about needing to speak with someone else or take important calls. The pattern was becoming unmistakable. She was being brushed off. I don't get it, she muttered to Sierra as they regrouped near the seafood display. It's like I've suddenly become invisible. Sierra frowned, scrolling through her phone. That's weird. Brad from accounting just texted me asking if we're the ones who were rude to JM at the dock earlier. JM? The fisherman? Vanessa scoffed, popping a shrimp into her mouth. Why would anyone care about... Ladies, interrupted a smooth voice behind them. They turned to find a woman in her 40s, elegant in a simple black dress, regarding them with cool interest. I'm Monica Winthrop, VP of Community Relations for Poseidon Ventures. I don't believe we've met. Vanessa Collins? She replied, extending her hand with renewed hope. Networking with a female executive could be valuable too. And this is Sierra Chen. Poseidon Ventures sounds fascinating. What industry are you in? Monica's smile remained fixed. We're in seafood production, export and marine real estate development. We actually own this marina and several others along the coast. How interesting, Vanessa replied, though her expression suggested marine businesses were beneath her interest. Yes, quite, Monica continued, her tone sharpening slightly. Our CEO is particularly passionate about fostering positive community relationships. He believes how people treat others, regardless of perceived status, reveals their true character. Something in Monica's pointed stare made Vanessa uncomfortable. That's a nice philosophy, isn't it? Monica sipped her drink. Unfortunately, I've noticed some guests today don't share those values. Our CEO was rather disappointed to hear about an incident at the dock earlier. Vanessa's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. I'm sorry. Oh, it's nothing, Monica waved dismissively, though her eyes remained hard. Just some social climber mocking one of our team members. Word travels fast in our community. I should mingle with the other guests. Enjoy the remainder of the party. As Monica glided away, Vanessa turned to Sierra, her face pale. Did she just call you out? Yeah, Sierra whispered. I think we've been blacklisted. For the next 2 hours, Vanessa's worst social nightmare unfolded. Conversations stopped when she approached. People who had eagerly networked with her at previous events suddenly couldn't remember her name. By sunset, even the servers seemed to be avoiding their section of the deck. Meanwhile, outside the yacht's windows, a weathered fishing boat motored quietly past the Midas Touch, heading toward the private northern section of the marina, an area reserved exclusively for members of the Harbor Heights Elite Association. The boat disappeared around the bend, and minutes later a sleek black Bentley pulled up to the marina's private entrance. Jake Mercer, now freshly showered and dressed in designer casual wear that expertly concealed its 5-figure price tag, stepped out and nodded to the security guard, who immediately straightened his posture. Evening, Mr. Mercer. The board members have arrived for your meeting. Thanks, Paul, Jake replied, glancing back toward the Midas Touch where music and laughter drifted across the water. How's our little social experiment going? The guard grinned. Exactly as you predicted, sir. The word's been passed around. Jake nodded thoughtfully. Excellent. Now let's prepare for tomorrow. I think Miss Collins might be in for quite a surprise. After a sleepless night replaying her social humiliation, Vanessa returned to Sapphire Bay Marina the following morning. Despite yesterday's disaster, she remained determined. The weekend's main event, a major business announcement rumored to bring together the coastal elite, was her chance at redemption. Whatever faux pas she'd committed could surely be overcome with the right approach. You sure this is a good idea? Sierra asked as they walked along the boardwalk, now transformed with a red carpet leading to a large white tent erected at the main pier. Staff in crisp uniforms arranged chairs while caterers prepared elaborate seafood displays. Trust me, Vanessa said, adjusting her designer sundress. Everyone has short memories in these circles. Besides, I've been working on my apology face all morning. Your what? My apology face. Look, Vanessa demonstrated an expression of practiced contrition. I'll find whoever I supposedly offended, make amends, and by lunchtime I'll be back in everyone's good graces. Sierra looked skeptical but followed as Vanessa confidently approached the check-in table. The event coordinator, a young woman with a tablet and earpiece, looked up with professional detachment. Names, please? Vanessa Collins and Sierra Chen, Vanessa announced with her brightest smile. The coordinator's fingers tapped the tablet screen. Her expression remained unchanged. I'm sorry, but you're not on the list. There must be a mistake, Vanessa insisted. We were at the yacht party yesterday. This is a separate event, ma'am, invitation only. Panic fluttered in Vanessa's chest, but she maintained her composure. Could you check again? Perhaps under Sierra's cousin, Jason Chen? He works with one of the investors. More tapping. No, Chen listed as bringing guests. The coordinator's voice softened slightly. However, the ceremony portion is viewable from the public boardwalk. You're welcome to watch from there. Vanessa's cheeks burned. Public boardwalk? Like some tourist? Before she could protest further, a black Maybach pulled up, drawing everyone's attention. The coordinator immediately abandoned their conversation, hurrying to greet the new arrival. "Let's just go," Sierra muttered. "This is embarrassing." "No," Vanessa hissed. "We're staying. We'll watch from the boardwalk, and I'll figure out who's behind this blacklisting." They retreated to the public viewing area, where a small crowd had gathered behind velvet ropes. Vanessa scanned the arriving guests, recognizing tech billionaires and several celebrities. The exclusivity of the event she was missing made her stomach knot with frustration. At precisely 11 a.m., Monica Winthrop, the executive who had confronted Vanessa at the yacht party, stepped up to the podium. The crowd fell silent. "Distinguished guests, valued partners and members of the Harbor Heights community," Monica began, her voice amplified across the marina. "Thank you for joining us for this momentous occasion. Today marks the official opening of Poseidon Ventures' new Sustainable Seafood Innovation Center, a $500 million investment in our community." Polite applause followed as Monica continued. "This facility represents our commitment to responsible ocean stewardship while creating over 300 local jobs, and no one embodies this vision more than our founder and CEO, who started with a single fishing boat 20 years ago and built an empire now valued at over $4 billion. Vanessa's interest peaked at the mention of billions. She stood on tiptoes, straining to see who would emerge. "Please welcome the visionary behind Poseidon Ventures, Mr. Jake Mercer." The crowd erupted in enthusiastic applause as a man strode confidently to the podium. Vanessa's jaw slackened in shock. Gone was the shabby fisherman from yesterday. In his place stood an impeccably tailored businessman, his once shaggy hair now stylishly groomed, his weathered hands now adorned with a watch worth more than most homes. Yet his eyes, those piercing blue eyes, were unmistakable. "It can't be," Vanessa whispered. "Isn't that the guy from yesterday?" Sierra gasped. "The one you called broke?" Jake Mercer smiled warmly at the crowd, exuding the natural charisma of someone completely comfortable in his position of power. "Thank you all for coming. Before I cut this ribbon, I'd like to share a brief story about why Poseidon Ventures operates differently than most companies." His gaze swept the crowd, momentarily landing on Vanessa in the public section. A flicker of recognition crossed his face before he continued. "I believe character is revealed in how we treat people when we think they can't offer us anything in return. That's why I occasionally still take out my original fishing boat, the one I lived on when I started this company, and work alongside our fleet. It keeps me grounded, and interestingly, shows me people's true colors." Murmurs rippled through the audience. Vanessa felt her knees weaken. Jake continued. "This marina, the Midas Touch yacht many of you enjoyed yesterday, and 12 others like it along the coast, are all part of the Poseidon portfolio. But our true value isn't in assets, it's in relationships built on mutual respect." With ceremonial scissors in hand, Jake approached the ribbon. "I declare the Poseidon Sustainable Seafood Innovation Center officially open." As the ribbon fell and champagne corks popped, Vanessa remained frozen in place, the horrifying truth washing over her. The broke fisherman she had mockingly dismissed owned not just the marina, but the very yacht she'd been trying to network on. His net worth was more than 100 times what she'd assumed, and she had humiliated herself in front of him and apparently his entire social circle. "Vanessa," Sierra whispered urgently, "we need to leave." But Vanessa couldn't move, transfixed as Jake Mercer, billionaire owner of Poseidon Ventures, master of the marina, and the man she had treated like dirt, raised his champagne glass in a toast. His eyes briefly meeting hers across the distance with a knowing look that said everything without a single word. The celebration following the ribbon-cutting ceremony continued into the afternoon. Vanessa watched from the periphery as Jake Mercer moved through the crowd with effortless charm, shaking hands and embracing celebrities like old friends. Each smile he gave others twisted the knife of regret deeper into her stomach. "We should leave," Sierra repeated, tugging at Vanessa's arm. "There's nothing for us here." "No," Vanessa said, suddenly resolute. "I need to fix this." Sierra's eyes widened. "Are you crazy? After what happened?" "It was a misunderstanding," Vanessa insisted. "People make mistakes. If I can just explain myself." She smoothed her dress, reapplied her lipstick, and put on her most convincing smile. With Sierra reluctantly trailing behind, Vanessa skirted the velvet rope and approached a security guard. "Excuse me," she said sweetly. "I urgently need to speak with Mr. Mercer about a potential partnership opportunity." The guard raised an eyebrow. Do you have credentials? Not exactly. But then please return to the public viewing area. Vanessa's smile faltered. Please, it's important. Just tell him Vanessa Collins is here. Something in her desperate tone must have registered, because after a moment's hesitation, the guard spoke quietly into his earpiece. Vanessa held her breath. Wait here, he finally said. 5 excruciating minutes later, Monica Winthrop approached, her expression professionally neutral. Miss Collins, she acknowledged. I understand you're requesting a moment with Mr. Mercer. Yes, Vanessa nodded eagerly. I need to apologize for a misunderstanding from yesterday. Monica studied her for a beat. Normally Mr. Mercer's schedule is booked weeks in advance. However, he's agreed to 5 minutes. Follow me. Vanessa shot Sierra a triumphant look before following Monica through the crowd. They approached a quieter area near the water where Jake stood conversing with an elderly man. When Jake noticed their approach, he excused himself from the conversation. Ms. Collins, he greeted her, his voice neutral but not unkind. Monica mentioned you wanted to speak with me. Up close, the transformation was even more striking. His casual confidence was the same, but everything else from his bespoke suit to his perfectly groomed appearance screamed wealth and power. Only his eyes remained unchanged, that same piercing blue that had caught her attention yesterday, now regarding her with composed interest. Mr. Mercer, Vanessa began, her practiced apologies suddenly evaporating under his steady gaze. I wanted to apologize for yesterday. I had no idea who you were. One corner of Jake's mouth twitched slightly. I gathered that. If I'd known you were the owner of Poseidon Ventures, he finished for her. Would that have changed how you treated me? Vanessa faltered. Well, of course it would have. I never would have been so dismissive if I'd realized. That's precisely the problem, isn't it? Jake said quietly. Vanessa blinked, thrown off script. This wasn't going as planned. She quickly recalibrated. What I mean is, I've always admired self-made success stories. In fact, I'm deeply passionate about marine conservation and sustainable fishing practices. Your company's mission resonates with me on a personal level. Jake tilted his head slightly. Is that so? Tell me, what specific aspect of our sustainable practices interests you most? All of it, Vanessa replied enthusiastically. The fish preservation methods, the ethical harvesting techniques, all of it. Something flickered in Jake's eyes, something that told her he wasn't buying a word. Still, she pressed on. Perhaps we could discuss it over lunch sometime. I have some ideas that might interest you. Miss Collins, Jake said evenly. Let me be direct. You're not interested in sustainable fishing. Until 24 hours ago you didn't know who I was or what my company does. You treated me with contempt because you assumed I had nothing to offer you. Vanessa felt heat rising to her cheeks. That's not fair. It was a misunderstanding. Was it? Jake asked, his voice remaining calm. Yesterday on that dock, I offered you freshly grilled fish as a simple human gesture. You didn't just decline, you made sure I knew exactly why I wasn't worth your time. Your exact words, I believe, were that I probably make like 40 grand a year on a good year. Vanessa winced. Had she really been that obvious? Everyone has bad days, she attempted. True, Jake nodded. Which is why I occasionally dress down and work on my old boat. It's a character test that never fails. Some people, regardless of my appearance, are kind, respectful, and genuine. Others, he let the implication hang in the air. I made a mistake, Vanessa said, genuine desperation now creeping into her voice. Please, can't we start over? Jake regarded her silently for a moment. Miss Collins, in business I've learned that how people treat the janitor reveals more about their character than how they treat the CEO. You showed me exactly who you are when you thought I was nobody. That information is valuable to me. He checked his watch, a subtle but unmistakable dismissal. Now if you'll excuse me, I have investors waiting. But, for what it's worth, Jake added, not unkindly, I hope yesterday's lesson serves you well in the future. Success without character is hollow. Now if you'll excuse me. With a slight nod he turned and walked away, immediately engulfed by admirers and business associates. Vanessa stood rooted to the spot, the full impact of what had just happened washing over her. Monica, who had been standing discreetly nearby, approached. I'll show you out. As they walked back toward the public area, Vanessa felt Monica's eyes on her. "He tests everyone that way, you know," Monica said conversationally. "I failed 2 years ago, when I was not much different from you. The difference is, I learned from it." "And he hired you anyway?" Vanessa asked, a glimmer of hope kindling. Monica's smile turned sad. "No, I had to prove myself elsewhere first. It took 5 years before he even considered my application." She paused at the velvet rope. "Second chances exist, Miss Collins, but rarely on the timeline we want them to." With that final blow, Monica returned to the celebration, leaving Vanessa alone on the wrong side of the rope, watching as the life she had coveted continued without her. 3 days after the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Vanessa sat in her apartment staring at her phone in horror. What had started as a single social media post had exploded into a viral nightmare that was dismantling her carefully curated life hour by hour. It began with a TikTok video caption, "Watch this gold digger mock a broke fisherman, who turns out to be the billionaire owner of the marina." The footage, shakily captured by a tourist who had been photographing boats when Vanessa encountered Jake, clearly showed her sneering at his offer of freshly grilled fish, followed by her loud comments about his supposed poverty as she walked away. The video cut to footage from the ribbon-cutting ceremony, where Jake was revealed as the CEO of Poseidon Ventures. In less than 48 hours, the clip had accumulated 12 million views and spawned hundreds of reaction videos. "How could this happen?" Vanessa moaned, scrolling through the comments section where strangers were dissecting her character with brutal precision. Her face when she realizes who he is, priceless. The way she looked at him like he was garbage. "Karma is beautiful. This is why I always treat everyone with respect. You never know who people really are." Sierra, sitting across from her with an expression torn between sympathy and "I told you so," sighed heavily. "Maybe it will blow over?" The notification ping from Vanessa's email crushed that hope instantly. She opened a message from Beauty Blend, a skincare company that had contracted her for promotional posts just 2 weeks earlier. Her phone rang. The caller ID showed her real estate broker's name. "Dear Miss Collins, in light of recent events that do not align with our brand values of kindness and authenticity, we are terminating our partnership effective immediately." "That's the third one today," Vanessa whispered, her voice hollow. The other cancellations had come from a boutique clothing line and a meal delivery service she had been promoting for months. Her influencer side hustle, which supplemented her meager real estate income, was evaporating before her eyes. "Gerald," she answered, forcing brightness into her voice. "Please tell me you have good news." The uncomfortable pause on the other end said everything before Gerald even spoke. "Vanessa, I'm calling about the Westbrook listing. The sellers have requested another agent." "What? Why? I've been working that listing for weeks." "They saw the video, Vanessa. They feel your current public image might affect their property's marketability." Gerald's voice softened slightly. "Look, maybe take some time off until this blows over. The internet has a short memory." But the internet wasn't forgetting. By evening, a journalist had identified Vanessa and published an article titled, "The Real Estate Agent Who Learned a $4 billion Lesson in Humility." The piece included screenshots from her social media accounts, all those carefully staged photos with borrowed luxury items and captions implying a lavish lifestyle she couldn't actually afford. "They're calling me Harbor Heights' biggest gold digger," Vanessa said, scrolling through local news sites. "There's even a meme template with my face now." Sierra winced. "Did you see what they dug up from your old dating profile? The part where you listed minimum 6-figure income as a requirement?" Vanessa groaned, burying her face in her hands. This can't be happening. Her phone pinged again, this time with a notification from her apartment complex's management. "Miss Collins, we've received complaints from several residents about media presence in the building. Please contact the office immediately." Outside, she could see a news van parked across the street. Someone had leaked her address. "I can't stay here," she realized. "They're circling like vultures." Sierra hesitated before responding. "You can crash at my place for a few days, but," she trailed off. "But what?" "My roommates follow all the local influencers. They're pretty angry about how you treated that Jake guy. He's apparently done a lot for the community, funded the children's hospital wing, started scholarship programs for low-income kids. People really respect him." Worse, her inbox contained dozens of messages from former friends and business associates. "I always knew you were fake. Now everyone else does too." The final blow came at midnight. Vanessa, unable to sleep, was scrolling through the wreckage of her social media when she noticed a dramatic drop in her follower count. Nearly 60% of her carefully accumulated audience had vanished in a single day. As dawn broke, Vanessa sat on Sierra's couch, red-eyed and defeated. The local morning news was playing quietly on the television when Jake Mercer's face appeared on screen. He was giving an interview about Poseidon's new community initiatives. "Remember when you borrowed my designer bag for your Instagram photos? You're pathetic. Please remove my name from your contacts list. I don't associate with people who treat others that way." Jake's expression remained composed. "I have, though I wish it hadn't become public. I believe in second chances, and hope this situation becomes a learning opportunity rather than just public entertainment." "Mr. Mercer, have you seen the viral video involving a woman who mockingly rejected your offer of friendship?" the interviewer asked. "Some are calling it karma. Your thoughts?" The camera panned to show Jake standing before a newly unveiled sign, Poseidon Foundation Authentic Leadership Scholarship, with the tagline, "Building success on character, not appearances." Jake shook his head slightly. "I prefer to think of it as a reminder that character matters more than appearances. In business and in life, how we treat people when we have nothing to gain reveals who we truly are." Vanessa turned off the television, a single tear sliding down her cheek. In trying to climb the social ladder, she had fallen all the way to the bottom, publicly humiliated, professionally damaged, and personally exposed. And the worst part was knowing that Jake Mercer, despite having every reason to gloat, had taken the high road yet again, which only made her public fall from grace all the more deserved. 6 months passed. The seasons changed. Tourist boats came and went from Sapphire Bay Marina, and Harbor Heights continued its glittering existence. But for Vanessa Collins, the world had irrevocably shifted. She sat at a small cafe 3 towns over, nursing an inexpensive coffee while scrolling through job listings on her laptop. After the viral humiliation, she had sold her designer wardrobe to cover rent until her lease expired. Sierra had let her stay for 2 weeks before the strain on their friendship became too much. Now living in a studio apartment she could barely afford, Vanessa was unrecognizable from the status-obsessed woman who had once strutted through the marina. Her phone buzzed with a news alert, a habit she hadn't been able to break, keeping tabs on Harbor Heights business developments. The headline made her breath catch. "Breaking. Poseidon Ventures announces $2 billion expansion. New women's entrepreneurship program." With trembling fingers, she opened the article. There was Jake Mercer, standing at a podium in front of Sapphire Bay's newly expanded headquarters. The article detailed Poseidon's latest triumph, a massive expansion into sustainable seafood processing, with facilities in 12 coastal states, creating thousands of jobs. But what caught her eye was the sidebar story. Mercer Foundation launches Second Chances initiative for women in business. According to the piece, Jake had established a $50 million fund specifically designed to help women from coastal communities start their own businesses, focused on sustainability. The program would provide not just capital but mentorship, training, and ongoing support. When asked about his inspiration for the program, Mercer referenced a personal experience that highlighted the need to look beyond appearances and give people opportunities to rebuild and grow. "Sometimes people make mistakes based on flawed values they've absorbed from society," Mercer said during the announcement. "But I believe in second chances, and the possibility of genuine change when someone learns from their mistakes." Vanessa closed her laptop, a complexity of emotions washing over her. The irony wasn't lost on her. The man she had dismissed was now creating opportunities for women like her, while she struggled to rebuild her life from the ashes of her mistakes. Her real estate license had been suspended pending a review after complaints about her professional conduct emerged in the wake of the scandal. Her social media following had dwindled to almost nothing. Former friends had distanced themselves, afraid her toxic reputation might taint them by association. The waitress refreshed her coffee with a sympathetic smile. "Tough day, hon?" Vanessa managed a small smile in return. "Tough year?" The television mounted in the corner of the cafe switched to a business news segment featuring Monica Winthrop, now promoted to President of Community Development at Poseidon Ventures. She was discussing the criteria for the new entrepreneurship program. We're looking for candidates who demonstrate authenticity, resilience, and a genuine commitment to community values," Monica explained. "Past mistakes aren't disqualifying. In fact, what someone has learned from failure often makes them stronger leaders." Vanessa found herself listening intently, something stirring within her that she hadn't felt in months. Hope. As the segment ended, the news anchor added, "Applications for the Second Chances Initiative open next month." As Mr. Mercer stated, everyone deserves an opportunity to rewrite their story. That evening, in her sparse apartment, Vanessa did something she hadn't done since the scandal broke. She opened a blank document and began writing. Not a social media post or a sales pitch, but a letter to herself, examining how she had built her life on false values and superficial judgments. She wrote through the night, confronting hard truths about herself, how she had measured people's worth by their bank accounts, how she had treated kindness as weakness, how she had chosen the appearance of success over genuine connection. By dawn, she had also drafted something else, an application for the Second Chances Initiative, not because she expected to be accepted, but because the process of articulating her business idea, a consulting firm, helping small businesses in struggling coastal towns develop authentic marketing strategies, felt like the first honest thing she had done in years. 3 weeks later, Vanessa walked along the public boardwalk at Sapphire Bay, dressed simply in jeans and a sweater. She was there for a job interview, not for a glamorous position, but as an administrative assistant at a small marine conservation nonprofit. It wasn't what she had dreamed of, but it was a start. As she passed the now famous spot where she had mocked Jake, she paused, looking out at the water. A weathered fishing boat puttered into view, and for a moment, her heart stopped. But it wasn't Jake, just an actual local fisherman going about his day. She smiled slightly at the symmetry. The lesson had come full circle. Her phone buzzed. An email notification. "Dear Miss Collins, thank you for your application to the Second Chances Initiative. After careful review, we would like to invite you to an initial interview." The signature at the bottom wasn't Jake's, but Monica Winthrop's. There was a personal note appended. "Your honesty about your journey impressed the committee. We look forward to hearing more." Vanessa looked up from her phone to see the Poseidon headquarters gleaming in the distance, its flag snapping in the breeze. Jake Mercer was somewhere in that building, continuing to build his empire, an empire now partly dedicated to helping people avoid the mistakes she had made. She wouldn't be accepted into the program. She knew that. There were surely more deserving candidates with less problematic pasts. But the fact that they had even read her application, that they hadn't immediately discarded it upon seeing her name, meant something. As Vanessa turned to head to her interview, she caught her reflection in a shop window. For the first time in months, she recognized herself, not the carefully constructed facade she had once maintained, but someone new emerging from the ruins of public humiliation. Someone who had learned finally to look beyond appearances. The real wealth, she now understood, had nothing to do with money at all.